Finish off the strikeout as we check
fastballs in a row. There it is.
Chris Webber acclimates himself well to starting. Campbell's from just outside of Kansas City, Olathe, Kansas, and he has blossomed into one of the best pitchers in the SEC. Series win would be in great shape to host a regional. Shoemake swings at the first, handled by Dominic Fletcher. One pitch and one out for Isaac.
Makes an out. 9 out of 10 times.
Into no man's land, past the reach of Jack Kenley, and the Aggies get a bloop single from Bryce Baum with one out. Still not going to second base, chance for two. Kenley to Martin, and they get it done. A twin killing to close the first frame to the SEC tournament. So Kentucky living on the edge. A shot to the gap in left center, and out of the glove of the left fielder Cam Blake, and Christian Franklin stops at second with a double to the gap. Breaking ball flicked into center, and it's going to drop in front of Deloach. Franklin will stop at third. Back-to-back hits for the Razorbacks. Payoff. Ripped high and deep to left field. If it's fair, it's way gone. It is both a three-run shot for Trevor Ezell. And Arkansas slugs its way to a third-inning lead.
For a strike, he tried to challenge him, stayed right out over the plate, and Ezell knew it as soon as he hit it. With one swing of the bat, second time around the lineup.
Andy now leads Kentucky 9-0 in the fourth. This is a 4-year-old. Swing and a miss for Foster. 3 strikeouts for Isaiah.
Maturity, he'll end up pulling.
Breaking ball hammered up the middle. Kerstead, top 10 in the SEC in slugging hits.
Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our A edition, as we like to do each and every Friday. And we're back after some minor tech issues yesterday. You know, got the best in the business when it comes to producing and taking care of the show. So Demetrius was able to get everything ironed out. We're back. We're ready to roll. Got a real interesting show for you today. We had a one-on-one. Myself met with Coach Eric Musselman yesterday. And we're going to play excerpts of that and let you guys hear some of the conversation that I had with Eric and some of the things that Eric and I talked about. I think it's going to be quite interesting to listen to. And then at 1:30, Arkansas has signed 2 more. We'll talk to Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and Hallville.net about new additions, Isaiah Moss and Connor Vanover. Also to Gentel Sala and what this 3-man, more older, experienced group of young men will be able to add once they make their way to the Hill. But I want to go over to my co-host and producer, but you know who he is on our show, my home guy. What's up, my man, TGIF?
Yeah, you already know.
Now, we met with Eric, and your words, during our time, our media availability that we were able to have our one-on-one. What were some of the things that when you walked out of the indoor practice facility, you felt, having not known about Eric Musselman, that maybe you know now?
He's just a guy that's attention to detail. I can really tell that he's really all about the minor nuts and bolts of things, and I think that's good. He seems like a really high-energy guy, a guy that's really relatable. He's fun to be around. You know, it's pretty funny, the jokes he was kind of making about his lack of Spanish when some of the Spanish commentators was talking with him. So it was just good to see that he's a human being. He's a normal person. You know, laughs, jokes, likes to have fun. So I'm really excited to really build that relationship with him.
Yeah, you kind of can understand, things that I understood is that, his philosophy is totally different from the collegiate coaches that we've, had here at the University of Arkansas in the past. I mean, he does. The guy really looks at it as if it's the next step to the NBA. And being a guy that at age 23 was a GM of a CBA league team, coached in the G League, I've had a lot of experiences in the professional realm of basketball. You can kind of tell, and I could tell throughout the interview that I was talking to a very, very very experienced coach that had a plan. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to like some of our audio that we had on our, like I said, the time that we were able to catch up with Eric. Also, too, make a note, Arkansas's women were up in it in round one by the Tulsa Lady Hurricanes 5-0 in their first round game of Baseball Coach of the Year.
Either that or Vanderbilt, because I promise I didn't, I'm not a big baseball guy, but when you talk about powerhouses in the SEC, I wouldn't have thought that Vanderbilt was the reigning, SEC champion this year, or I should say, headed in first place for this year. And I never would have thought, looking at the beginning of the year, that it would be Vanderbilt. I'm used to seeing Florida, Mississippi State, Arkansas, kind of 1 through 3 spaces. So it's good to see another SEC powerhouse kind of pop their head in that baseball field.
I think this team won 48 games last year total. I think they finished 48-21, and here they sit. 2 games left in the regular season at 40-13. Not even a SEC tournament as it's on the horizon, and then the national, the NCAA tournament. So this team could possibly win about 50 games, which when you're able to do that, and the thing that really sticks out to me, D, is the fact that this is a very, very, very young baseball team. A lot of the pitchers that take them out on the weekends are redshirt freshmen, true freshmen. Just a lot of young talent. Christian Franklin. We all sometimes forget that Heston Kerstad and Casey Martin are just true sophomores. Casey Opitz is a young man that's been waiting in the wings. Got good heart. Jake Kinley. I mean, this is a team of talented young individuals, and I think the program's got to be in the right, going in the right direction. Like I said, Demetrius, I continue to say, if you're the SEC, Arkansas is going to be a problem for years going forward, and it would not surprise me if the team makes it back to the CWS, but this time finds a way to win it with just the way they're able to, their improvement offensively is, I think, the biggest thing. How about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I think this year a lot of fans expect them to be there, and I think it's starting to become a year in, year out type of deal where when baseball season comes around, we expect to be in the playoffs. We expect to be, in those final rounds going into their college. I was about to say football playoffs, World Series. So I'm excited.
Well, we're going to step away, get a real quick break, but we said we'd let you hear excerpts of our one-on-one with Coach Eric Musselman yesterday in the men's indoor practice facility, and we're going to start it off, and then we'll come back with much, much more. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
Eric, how has it been? It's been a whirlwind. How has it been this last month and a half on the job here at the university?
There's so many, when you take over a new job, there's so many things that you've got to do. One, you got to meet current staff, and you got to put your own staff together, and you got to get to know your players. And then, oh, by the way, maybe the most important thing is recruiting, because you got this short window to try to improve your roster. So we've been pretty busy. My wife is awesome. She flew in a couple times, found a house. They're still about 8 weeks away from joining me. So a lot of long hours right now, but it's been really good. And you kind of need to have your alone time without your family the first 2 months on the job anyhow.
You're a coach that believes in positionless basketball. I mean, watching at the high school level, now here collegiately, it's going up into the NBA. What will be your philosophy here? And when you look at your talent here at Arkansas, do you have the guys in place that can initiate, your belief in that philosophy?
I mean, we certainly feel like, now these are our guys, and because these are our guys, we need to try to figure out how to look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses, hide weaknesses, and go to strengths, accentuate their strengths. And We feel like we had a really good nucleus coming in because there are a lot of young players and a lot of guys in their freshman and sophomore year, and you usually take a leap when you get into your sophomore or junior year. So excited about that, and then excited about the new pieces that we've added as well. I think it was appealing for a lot of reasons. Number one, you talk about leadership at the top, and in the NBA it's who's your owner, who's your general manager. At the collegiate level, it's who's your chancellor, or who's your president, and who's your athletic director. So that to start off with, and then having been an assistant coach at LSU and coming into Bud Walton Arena and seeing the energy and the enthusiasm for a game. And then you think about all the history, and then, oh, by the way, the facilities are top-notch. So I think there's a lot of things to really be excited about. Some of the things that we want to do in our own way is kind of remove the curtain a little bit. I mean, I believe that in today's society, with social media, you kind of got to let people in your inner circle a little bit more than maybe what happened 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. I mean, what social media has done is TV now, they want to be in your huddles. TV now wants to interview a coach in-game. All those things were unheard of many years ago, but society changes, athletics change, and so you've got to change as a coach as well.
When you look at the way college basketball is.
Welcome back. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, coming to you each and every day here on KDSJ 479, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. Man, we let you hear during the break little excerpts of our one-on-one with head men's basketball coach Eric Musselman, and it was quite the interview. I found Eric to be a very interesting coach, but a coach that has a plan, and some of the analytical things. Demetrius, you posed the question to Eric about the analytical thing, and how, were you surprised at the answer that you got, with the way he uses it to motivate, his players week to week, year in and year out?
No, it didn't surprise me. I think that's a good thing. What I really took away from it is how the two, the women's and men's basketball use the same thing, but how they apply it to the team differently. But I also see how collaboratively I can see them getting together and exchanging ideas,
right.
Because I think Mike Neighbors is that type of coach to where he's innovative. He's looking for things that he can incorporate with his team. And I think Musselman is also as open to new information. And I think together with the type of mind they have, the women's and men's program is really in a good position, I will honestly say. I think even from an organizational standpoint, let's just say worst case scenario, Musselman doesn't win a national championship. I still believe he still puts us in a position to whatever coach succeeds him after that is going to be in a pretty good position to continue things in an upward trending motion for Arkansas.
See, I like the fact that you use the analytics both, with Coach Neighbors and Coach Muss, because I think when kids understand and can see, we live in an age nowadays, Demetrius, kids are visual. I mean, kids need to see the progress that they're making. You can tell them that when an individual can actually see that there's progress made, then he starts to really, motivate himself even more, and it becomes being a self-coach and making sure that you reach certain goals. I think kids have to have standards. I think all athletes have to have a standard, at the position that they play. A coach, if the kid's overweight, then you need to set a standard. Hey, this is where you play better at than per se this actual weight. So I think when you start to use analytics, and more coaches are using it, and when I watch the NBA, you watch all the different media shows, you see a lot of the different analysts using analytical statistics. So I think that's going to be more and more involved. Also, too, the thing that I like about Coach Musselman is that I got a feeling, Demetrius, you're going to see Isaiah Joe play a little point guard during this year. Something I think they're going to want to add more to his game. And I think if Isaiah can, at 6'5", add the point guard and not necessarily play a lot, just get you that 3 or 4 minutes in each and every half to kind of give out, Jalen or Isaiah Moss, another guy that's, we're going to talk about here later on, a little break. But don't be surprised if you see number one playing point guard. And if so, that goes to show about the positionless players, that Coach Musselman is going to start incorporating in the program, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm really eager to see, because we were talking yesterday, and Musselman kind of mentioned how he was kind of smalling at 4 the 3-4,
4-5,
4-5, excuse me,
Right,
4-5
right.
position. So you were talking about how you can really see Musselman getting guys that can play multiple roles and interchanging positions. So, going back to Isaiah Joe, I think it's going to be detrimental that he does learn how to play multiple roles, because I think the type of guys that Musselman is going to recruit are going to be able to play multiple roles. And I think that's really how you're going to earn your time on the court. You're going to have to be able to play and do different things that sometimes your original spot doesn't cause you to do. So I'm really excited to see how he brings these diverse group of guys together, and it just excited me to hear him say, if I could pick any NBA team, I would choose the Warriors.
Right.
I think that's ironic how, again, both Mike Neighbors and Musselman have that same type of identity that they want to create here at the University of Arkansas. And I think, to me, that's another branding point that both the men's and women's programs are really taking into consideration, because to me, that's the type of basketball that younger people want. They're getting away from playing defense.
Right.
They want to chunk up 53s a game, get a couple of highlights, get a couple of dunks, easy transition baskets. So I'm really excited to see that we have coaches that are really adjusting with the times around the nation.
And then I agree with you. I think, college basketball, high school basketball, and even in the middle school and up into the NBA, it's all about the three-point shot. It's about the layup. You don't see the mid-range game as much as you did when, per se, we were growing up in my era. I thought that was one of the main things. Coaches always stress that mid-range game. That's why you like guys like the Kevin Durant's and the Kawhi Leonards. They have that mid-range that's really hard to defend. I think that's something Coach Musselman will, really emphasize with a guy like Reggie Chaney or Gabe Osagoin, to really advance your mid-range game, and then you're able to take your man, those forwards that maybe you may have an advantage, you take them off the dribble, get to the rim. I think those are some of the things that, you'll see added to multiple players. I look at a guy like Jalen Harris. I think Jalen Harris under Eric Musselman is going to learn how to play the point guard spot, sort of like the NBA plays it, Demetrius, and getting to the rim, kicking out, making a lot of guys better, but really being able to shoot also, too, that mid-range jump shot. I think if Jalen can add that, then he'd add a lot more, and then you're going to be talking about a roster that's going to have 4 to 5 guys that can shoot the three at a clip of over 40%. He talked about having the ball movement, and when you're not, big, we saw how they were when they lost Daniel Gafford heading to Providence in that NIT game. It was a different team. I mean, the lanes were a lot more open. They had a lot more ball movement. So, like I said, Demetrius, I'm like you. I can kind of agree and understand, the realm. When you look at the guys that Coach Musselman has offered, you look at the Moses Moody's, the Chris Moores, the Kyrie Walkers, the Dalen Terrys, the Cade Cunninghams, the Greg Brown Jr.'s, the Josh Christopher, the Namari Burnett's. These are all guys that go in between that 6'5", 6'4", 6'9", 6'10" range, but they're all guys that can put it on the floor, come off the bounce, play multiple positions, and that's just something that I think you're going to continuously see. But we're going to step away momentarily. We're going to talk a little recruiting as the Must Bus brought in a few more over the past 48, 72 hours. But we're going to let you hear more of that one-on-one with Coach Muss, and then we'll be back with Kevin McPherson of AR Hoops and Hallfield.net. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Let's get it.
A lot of coaches are getting away from the individual one-on-one, kind of letting their players get with trainers outside of the program and doing more team stuff. You seem to have that type of philosophy. Is that something that you think more coaches will go to in the future?
I just want our guys to get as good as they possibly can. So if it means an outside trainer, let it be. But certainly we want to pride ourselves on our own player development. But I do think like high school guys have their own trainers now, and my son's got his own trainer. He doesn't want to work with me, but he's got his own guy. So that's just, you kind of got to roll with it. I think certainly you want to educate your fan base on who your team is and what style you're trying to portray. And for us, we're going to have a new coaching staff, so we have to teach our players. We got to teach our coaching staff. And you want to have an identity, you want to have a brand, you want to have a style that people can look at your team and say, that's the Arkansas Razorbacks. And you don't want to be inconsistent in your play. And those are some of the things that we're going to talk to our team about as well from now until we get into November. You know, other than Coach Cal, you know, nobody else has coached in the NBA. And then having been a coach of 2 NBA franchises and having been an NBA assistant coach, I have a different, unique perspective on how I look at the whole operation or the whole corporation or whatever you want to call it. Everybody's got their own way. There's no right, there's no wrong way. But you got to get your players to buy in. That's what you have to do, no matter what system, no matter what style, no matter what your beliefs are. And so we certainly hope to do that. And you know, some of the things that we do that's unique is I called a couple players last night and ran by 2 assistant coaches' bios and what their background was like and said, hey, person A or person B, what do you think? And both guys were more than willing to give their input on what they felt they wanted and what our team wanted as far as a profile of an assistant coach.
Look at all the big-time coaches in the SEC. I believe 10 made the NCAA tournament that are coaching in the conference this year. You've had experiences against the Phil Jacksons of the world. You know, how excited are you, Eric, to be able to go against this caliber of coaching once the season rolls around?
Yeah, I don't think, you know, one of the things that was really, really enticing about the job is, okay, now you're going to go coach in a league that's as good as any league in the entire country, and you're going to go coach against guys that are really experienced in the college game and have a tremendous amount of success. But having said that, I have been on a sideline and looked down at Pat Riley and looked down at Phil Jackson. So I'm not going to be intimidated by another coach that's standing down the sideline at all, because I've coached against the greatest games in the world. And so, but it's difficult for sure. And we have a tremendous amount of respect for all the coaches in the league. And that's one of the things that, as a whole, the athletic directors and administrators have done an incredible job, and the league office of, you know what, the brand of coaching right now in this league is at an all-time high.
Everybody has a motto they like to go by. Yours is pace with space. To all prospective recruits, explain what pace with space, is to Eric Musselman. We
want to play fairly fast without turning the ball over, with getting as high a quality shots as we possibly can, and be a low turnover team. And I tell the guys all the time, like, we want to be cosmetically pleasing. That means you got to share the ball, and bodies have to move. And if there's one team I can say, hey, that's kind of what we want to play like, it's the Golden State Warriors, where even though they have superstars, the ball moves and bodies are moving and people aren't standing. But then you got to also be really good executing down the stretch the last 2 minutes of games. For us, analytically, you can never get too complicated. You can never take these numbers and convolute them where your players don't understand what you're talking about. So what we're going to do is, and I've already had a couple individual meetings with players, but we want our guys to see their statistics, and then how do we get them to have a career year all the way down the line, from free throw percentage to three-point percentage, three-pointers made. So we're going to give them a lot of individual goals, and we're going to try to project where a guy can be towards the end of the year, and then it's his job during this off season between now and November 6th or 7th, whatever it is, to really take that plan, implement it, take pride in it, because they're going to have to do a lot of stuff on their own. They're going to have to self-coach themselves, because due to the NCAA rules, we only have a certain amount of time over an 8-week time frame that we can really get our hands on guys and work with them.
Last question I have, Coach. Arkansas is one of the younger teams in college basketball last year. Having the workouts that you've had with the young men, assess the talent on this basketball team, and how, what are some strengths and weaknesses that you guys will be working on?
I think, one, the strengths are guys are excited. With youth, you have excitement. We have some shooters that can really stroke the basketball. And then I'd say a weakness is lack of experience and lack of size. We've tried to do the best that we can in a short amount of time. We feel like the experience with Isaiah Moss and Jontel Silla, we feel like, those 2 areas have been addressed. We now have 2 players that are fifth-year seniors, that are grad transfers, that give us some more experience. And then we feel like we've added size with Connor, so whenever he can play. So we feel like we've addressed some areas of concern. But we're still going to be pretty small at that 4 and 5 spot, so we're going to have to collectively do a really good job of defending inside and then also rebounding the basketball. I'm excited every day, but I just can't wait to get back to practice. We had 7 practices, and now we're on a little bit of a break after finals, but the guys will be coming back here in a couple weeks, and we'll get down to business.
Great job.
Yeah.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's our Friday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and as we come to you each every day here on KDSA 479. And real quick, let's get to our sponsors, as this would not be possible without you all. Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville and office location also too in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel, located at 735 South Shiloh Drive. Locomotion, just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall, and our newest sponsor, Corey Beck's Custom Painting. But we've got breaking news, and it's about the basketball program, the Must Bus. And as always, Kevin McPherson. We thought we'd catch up with Kevin. Welcome to the Hill, Kevin. You got something for us? It's real important.
Good to be with you, Pat. We got some breaking news. Everybody's wondering what's the next move by Eric Musman in his coaching search. And this guy vets, and he interviews, and he goes and checks his list twice. But he's made his second hire, and he's in the process. They're finalizing a deal today to bring on Chris Crutchfield, who's been the associate head coach at Oklahoma under Lon Kruger for the past 3 seasons. He's actually been on that Oklahoma staff the past 8 years. Prior to his associate head coach, he was an assistant coach there. But a 24-year college coaching career. He's actually had a little head coaching experience at Tyler Junior College, many years ago. But here's a guy that's not only a veteran at the high major level, but he's a known recruiter. You're bringing him from Oklahoma, which is in a border state he's in that recruiting region, the footprint state there. And the other thing with him is he got a lot of credit for bringing in guys and developing guys like Buddy Hield, the 2-time Big 12 Player of the Year at Oklahoma that got drafted in, I think, 6th in the draft when he went out. And then, of course, Trae Young last year, the 5-star that was, arguably the top player in college basketball last year before moving on to the Atlanta Hawks in the NBA. But Crutchfield's given a lot of credit for mentoring those guys and helping in their development. So this is a big-time splash hire, I think, when you're looking at assistant coach by Eric Musman, as he's made his second move. Now, we know he brought Anthony Ruda and Hayes Myers with him from Nevada. Those guys are going to be part of that basketball staff, Pat. But he's going to hire another assistant coach to be on that bench with Corey Williams, who was his first hire, the former Stetson head coach, that had a lot of experience with Florida State and Leonard Hamilton. But now you bring in another assistant coach under Lon Kruger, who's a future Hall of Fame head coach. And this staff is starting to be as solid as the recruiting that we saw this week.
Great point. A lot of things that are starting to be solid under Eric Musselman. As just a little over 48 hours ago, he got 2 really, really important transfer pieces that he needed. The first being Isaiah Moss, a young man out of Iowa University, transferred in. This is a guy that shot the 3 at close to a clip of over 40% his senior year. Talk about, Isaiah, and what will he bring to Coach Muss in year 1?
Man, I tell you what, Isaiah Moss is a guy that a lot of people think could end up being in the NBA. He basically started all 4 years. 3 years. He was a 4th-year junior this past season. Started a lot up there. Started every game as a junior. He averaged over 9 points a game. But the key with him is efficiency. He was 42% from 3, which was 4th in the Big Ten. He was a guy that was going to be counted upon as being a leader on that team, and a guy that was going to give you heavy production. But now he's going to bring him that to Arkansas, and he visited Arkansas over the weekend. And look, he left that visit, went to Kansas. Kansas wanted him. Louisville wanted him. Oregon, Arizona State, several other Big Ten schools and teams from other leagues. So this is a big time get for Arkansas. Big wing, 6'5", 210. And you add him with Isaiah Joe and Mason Jones, and of course Desi Sills, who's tough as a boot and plays big. And now you've got not only a backcourt that's got some size, but I think you start looking at the percentages. 3 of those 4 guys shot over 40% from 3 last year. Collective shot over 40%. I talked about some of that, some stat work I did this week, but you have 1 or 2 guys on the floor at a time that the defense had to worry about on the perimeter. Now you can really put a defense on its heels with 4 or 5 guys they can run out there that can shoot the ball, and that's going to open things up to get to the basket. So Moss is a big ingredient for what Arkansas wants to do this coming season under Musselman.
About a couple hours right before Isaiah gave his commitment, homegrown talent, Connor Vanover from Baptist Academy there in the Little Rock area by way of Findlay Prep as well, where he played his senior year. Decided to come back home and commit to Eric Musselman. That 7'3" frame has to be impressive, but, when you look at Connor, quite the shooter, don't you think, Kevin?
He's a shooter, man. That's the thing. And I've been watching him here in Little Rock before he went to Findlay Prep and played with Reggie Cheney as a senior.
And a three
of course, he was a freshman
from
at
Connor
Cal
Vanover was the first
shot
shot.
36% from three at Cal. And when you think of a 7'3" guy, you don't typically think of someone that can get a quick shot off and be effective, but that's exactly what he is. He doesn't, he's got a lot of length. We just said he's 7'3", so you would have picture in your mind a guy that has a wind-up or a methodical process to get into a shot. And it's into it quick and it's effective. So you're thinking about pace and space, him setting pick and then just popping out off those picks. And if the ball movement, he's got such great touch. He's got good post moves. Strength has been somewhat of an issue, but even if you push him out, let's say he tries to set up low, and you push him out mid-post, he can still turn and finish 10, 12 feet away from the basket like another big might finish 4 or 5 feet away from the basket because of that length and how feathery smooth his touch is. He's just as effective with even being pushed out a little bit. So, and on defense, he's not a big rebounder, but he is a volume shot blocker. His per 40 minutes, I think he's a great fit for Muss.
We met with Coach Muss yesterday, and my question to Eric Gentile, and you add Isaiah, two mature guards, two really non-positional players, in my opinion. How does that help, what Arkansas already has? Because you knew they had young talent. They just needed to be surrounded by a few older pieces.
Yeah, again, you talked about Gentile, 6'7". He's kind of a threat to them and help on the system. He does it differently, but he also wants to create push tempo, get the score up there. The more shooters you can add that have versatility, can do multiple things, and it does become positionless basketball. I'm glad you brought that up. Now all of a sudden it creates matchup problems, and you start dictating pace and tempo. It actually helps you defensively too, because it puts pressure on the defense not only to cover you at one end, but if you're scoring the basketball, they could come back on the other end and answer. So I think what we're seeing with some of these pieces is Arkansas is getting really serious about a very much improved SEC with a lot of the moves that we're seeing on the recruiting trail.
You look at Connor at 7'3", I'm of the belief, through Coach Muss and the recruiting process, you won't see that very often, as I feel like, when you look at high school ball, middle school, collegiate, even at the NBA levels, like I said, so many positionless players, that range from that 6'4", to 6'9", 6'10", but can do so many things. When you look at all the kids that Coach Muss has recruited, the Namari Burnett's, Josh Christophers, the Greg Brown Jr., Cade Cunningham, Moses Moody's, Chris Moore. That you can play that way?
You can play that way. It's being proven, and I think you start looking at it and moving forward in these later class, these 2020, 2021, even 2022. An offer went out the other day, but you're exactly right. You look at him. It's a top 10 5-star. Some people think he may even be the best player in that 2020 class. He's like a big guard, 6'7" point guard. And we've seen guys like Ben Simmons, who's a little tall, but Cade's on a big frame too. He's strong at 6. Yeah, you're starting to look at, you look at Moses Moody around the 6'6" range, can do multiple things on the court. He can be a 2. He can handle enough to help you at the 1. He can play on that, he can be a swing man too. So guys that can play multiple spots on the floor and multiple ways. And when you're spreading guys out, if you've got skilled players that can do more than one thing, now all of a sudden, again, the matchups become a nightmare for defense. And we see basketball gravitating that way on the pro level. We're seeing it more in college now, and I think this is the perfect opportunity for Musselman to go out and identify those players that can play that kind of basketball for him in Arkansas.
The NBA Combine is taking place this week. Arkansas has former All-SEC center Daniel Gafford taking part in it. What are you hearing from your end on where Daniel may fall come this time in June?
Say that one more time. I'm sorry, Pat. I cut out a little bit.
How's Daniel,